Chapter 1: A Merchant's Journey. Long ago, in the heart of Persia, there was a city renowned for its lively bazaars. These bazaars, brimming with the aroma of spices and the shimmer of silk, were the lifeblood of commerce and culture. Among the countless merchants who thrived there, one man stood out: Hassan, a trader of unmatched reputation. Hassan was no ordinary merchant. His wealth was immense, his caravan stretching as far as the eye could see, laden with treasures from across the known world, saffron from the East, precious gems from India, and exotic fabrics that even kings coveted. Yet, it was not merely his riches that earned him admiration. Hassan was respected for his wisdom and fairness. He treated his customers with honesty, his workers with kindness, and his competitors with humility. Hassan's decision to depart. Years of prosperity had only fueled Hassan's ambition. He yearned to explore distant lands, to expand his trade routes to places others feared to tread. A merchant's soul must wander as freely as the winds, he would often say. His vision was not just to accumulate wealth, but to weave a legacy that would endure long after he was gone. One evening, as the sun cast golden hues over the city, Hassan called his younger brother, Nadir, to his private chambers. Nadir was a spirited but inexperienced man, often shadowed by the towering reputation of his elder sibling. Hassan, who loved Nadir deeply, had always hoped to prepare him for greater responsibilities. Hassan presented Nadir with a small yet elegant box. Inside lay a single golden thread, shimmering faintly in the soft light of the room. Nadir looked at the thread curiously, puzzled by its simplicity. Before he could speak, Hassan said, "Nadir, this thread holds the secret to all my success. Guard it well, for it is priceless." Nadir's brows furrowed. He could not comprehend how such a simple object could possess any value, let alone be the key to his brother's vast fortune. Was it some rare artifact? A symbol of divine blessing? He had so many questions, but chose to hold his tongue. A brother's trust. Nadir, Hassan continued, placing a firm but gentle hand on his brother's shoulder, "I will be gone for many months, perhaps even years. During my absence, you will oversee my household and ensure that our family name remains untarnished. The thread is more than it appears. It carries a lesson you may not yet understand, but one day, it will reveal its true worth to you." Humbled and slightly overwhelmed by the responsibility, Nadir nodded solemnly. "I promise to guard it with my life, brother," he said. Satisfied, Hassan smiled warmly. Remember, true wealth is not always what the eyes can see. Preparations for departure. The following days were filled with bustling activity as Hassan prepared for his journey. His caravans were loaded with carefully chosen goods, his camels adorned with bright tassels and sturdy saddlebags. Messengers spread the word of his impending departure, and traders from neighboring towns came to bid him farewell. Despite the excitement surrounding the journey, Hassan remained focused on Nadir. On the eve of his departure, he gathered the household and reiterated his faith in his younger brother. "Nadir is my second self," he told them. "Treat him as you would me." In the quiet of his own thoughts, Nadir felt both pride and anxiety. The golden thread weighed heavily on his mind. He had placed it in a chest and hidden it in the safest corner of the house, away from prying eyes. Yet he could not shake the feeling that the thread held some secret he had yet to uncover. Hassan sets off. On a crisp morning, just as the first rays of sunlight bathed the city in gold, Hassan mounted his horse, his caravan trailing behind him like a river of prosperity. The people of the city gathered to see him off, wishing him safe travels and success. As the caravan disappeared into the horizon, Nadir stood on the balcony, watching until the last speck of dust settled. His brother's words echoed in his mind, "This thread holds the secret to all my success. Guard it well, for it is priceless." Little did Nadir know that Hassan's departure would mark the beginning of a journey of his own, a journey not across distant land, but deep into the heart of trust, responsibility, and the unseen treasures of life. And so, the golden thread lay hidden, waiting for its moment to weave its lesson into the fabric of Nadir's destiny. Chapter 2: The Test of Trust. Months stretched into seasons, and Hassan did not return. The initial excitement of his departure faded, replaced by growing concern. In the bustling bazaar, where his name had once been spoken with reverence, whispers began to swirl. Traders speculated that Hassan had fallen victim to the merciless deserts, perished at the hands of bandits, or been lost to some unseen peril. For his younger brother, Nadir, the uncertainty was unbearable. Each passing day, without news, deepened his anxiety. At first, he clung to the hope that his brother would return triumphant, laden with treasures from distant lands. But as weeks turned to months, doubt crept into his heart. Mounting pressure. Hassan's absence brought not only emotional strain but practical challenges. As the head of the household, Nadir was now responsible for managing their affairs. Though Hassan had left behind ample resources, Nadir's inexperience began to show. He struggled to maintain the household and make sound business decisions. The situation worsened as debtors, emboldened by Hassan's prolonged absence, began demanding repayments. Some questioned Nadir's ability to honor his brother's commitments, while others outright accused him of mismanagement. With the family's reputation on the line, Nadir felt the weight of responsibility crushing him. Desperation soon became his constant companion. He began selling small items from the household, hoping to ease the financial burden. First, it was minor trinkets and spare goods. Then, pieces of furniture and valuable textiles. Yet, no matter how much he sold, it never seemed enough. A golden opportunity. One evening, as Nadir rummaged through the storeroom in search of something else to sell, his eyes fell upon the chest where the golden thread lay hidden. His brother's words came back to him, "This thread holds the secret to all my success. Guard it well, for it is priceless." For a moment, Nadir hesitated. Could this seemingly simple thread truly be as valuable as Hassan had claimed? He unwrapped the thread and examined it closely. It was thin, delicate, and glittered faintly in the light of the oil lamp. There was no obvious indication of its worth. The pressure of his mounting debts overrode his caution. How valuable could a single thread be, he thought to himself. Surely, selling it won't do any harm. Resolving to find out its value, he decided to take it to the bazaar the next day. At the bazaar. The next morning, Nadir walked through the bustling streets of the bazaar, clutching the golden thread. Merchants called out their wares, the aroma of spices filled the air, and the sound of haggling echoed all around him. Yet Nadir's mind was consumed by thoughts of his brother and the uncertainty of their future. He approached a jeweler known for his expertise in rare and valuable items. The jeweler, a bearded man with sharp eyes and an air of authority, examined the thread with meticulous care. He held it up to the light, ran it between his fingers, and even smelled it as though trying to discern its origin. "It's a fine thread," the jeweler finally said, his voice betraying neither excitement nor disappointment. "Its craftsmanship is delicate, and the gold is of good quality. I can offer you a fair price, nothing extraordinary, but enough to ease your troubles for a time." Nadir's heart sank. He had hoped the thread would fetch a small fortune, a sum significant enough to solve his problems. Instead, the jeweler's offer was modest at best. Still, desperation clouded his judgment. Believing the thread to be no more than a trinket, Nadir accepted the offer without a second thought. As the jeweler placed the thread in a velvet pouch, he paused and looked at Nadir. "This thread, it seems to hold something unusual. Are you certain you wish to part with it?" Nadir forced a smile. "It's just a thread," he replied, dismissing the jeweler's curiosity. Unaware of the secret. With the coins from the sale in his hand, Nadir left the bazaar feeling a mixture of relief and regret. He had sold the thread, convinced it held no real value beyond its gold. What he did not know was that the thread was no ordinary strand of gold. Woven into its fibers was a hidden inscription, visible only under specific light and to those who knew to look for it. The inscription was not mere decoration, it was a message, a timeless truth passed down through generations. It read, "The foundation of wealth is trust, and the strength of trust is loyalty." Hassan had chosen the thread not for its material worth, but for the lesson it symbolized. It was a reminder that the true secret of his success lay not in gold or goods, but in the relationships he had built, relationships rooted in trust and loyalty. By selling the thread, Nadir had unwittingly discarded not only an object of sentimental value, but also the very principle that had guided his brother's life. The consequences. For a time, the money Nadir received from the sale provided temporary relief. He was able to pay off some debts and calm the demands of his creditors. Yet the underlying problems remained, and Nadir found himself increasingly lost and uncertain. The thread, now in the possession of the jeweler, became a curiosity that sparked quiet speculation. Though the jeweler admired its craftsmanship, he too failed to notice its true significance. The thread, much like the trust it symbolized, had been undervalued and set aside. And so, the golden thread passed out of Nadir's life, taking with it an opportunity to learn the invaluable lesson it carried. As the days turned into weeks, Nadir began to realize that his decision, born of desperation and doubt, might have cost him more than he had bargained for. The test of trust had come and gone, leaving its mark on Nadir's path, a mark that would shape the lessons yet to come. Chapter 3: The Return of Hassan. Years passed like the wind sweeping across the deserts, and the memory of Hassan, the merchant who once commanded respect and admiration, began to fade. His name, once spoken in the bazaars with reverence, had become a wistful tale of ambition lost to the perils of distant lands. For Nadir, the years had been particularly harsh. The pressures of managing the household, compounded by his own missteps, had left him a shadow of the hopeful young man who had once vowed to guard his brother's legacy. One fateful day, as the sun dipped low and cast a golden glow over the city, a caravan appeared on the horizon. At first, the townspeople thought it was yet another group of traveling merchants. But as the caravan drew nearer, they saw a familiar figure at its head. It was Hassan, weathered and aged, but alive and victorious. The whispers began to spread like wildfire. Hassan has returned. A home in disrepair. When Hassan reached his home, his joy at seeing familiar surroundings was quickly replaced by sorrow. The once grand residence, known for its elegance and order, now showed signs of neglect. The gardens were overgrown, the walls were crumbling, and the air of prosperity that had once defined the place was gone. Inside, he found Nadir, seated in the dim light of the hall, his posture heavy with defeat. The once spirited young man now bore the weight of years of hardship. His clothes were modest, his face lined with worry, and his eyes carried a sadness that spoke of regret and unfulfilled promise. Hassan embraced his brother tightly, but as they pulled apart, he asked, "What happened, Nadir?" His voice was calm but firm, his gaze searching for answers. Nadir's confession. At first, Nadir struggled to find the words. The return of his brother, whom he had long feared dead, was both a blessing and a burden. How could he face Hassan after the choices he had made? Yet, the love and trust in his brother's eyes gave him the courage to speak. "Brother," Nadir began, his voice trembling, "I have failed you." He confessed everything, the growing debts, the decisions made in desperation, and, most painfully, the sale of the golden thread. "I did not understand its value," he admitted. "To me, it was just a thread, and I thought selling it would solve our problems. I was wrong." Hassan listened intently, his face a mixture of sadness and understanding. When Nadir finished, the silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the distant chirping of birds outside. Finally, Hassan sighed deeply but remained composed. "You have made mistakes, Nadir, but mistakes are teachers in disguise. Let me show you what you lost." The lesson of the golden thread. Hassan motioned for Nadir to sit beside him. He took out a small, folded piece of parchment from his belongings. The golden thread, Hassan began, was no ordinary one. It was crafted by master weavers who imbue their work with wisdom, not just beauty. The thread contained a secret inscription, visible only under the right light and to those who knew to look for it. Nadir's eyes widened with curiosity and regret. "What did the inscription say?" he asked. Hassan unfolded the parchment, which held a sketch of the thread's design. He pointed to the words woven subtly into the gold, "The foundation of wealth is trust, and the strength of trust is loyalty." "This," Hassan said, his voice steady and purposeful, "is the secret to everything I have built. Trust is the cornerstone of every relationship, whether in trade, family, or friendship. Without it, no wealth can endure. And loyalty, Nadir, is what sustains that trust through trials and temptations." Nadir stared at the parchment, the weight of his brother's words sinking in. He realized that the thread was never meant to be sold, it was a symbol, a lesson wrapped in gold, a legacy that Hassan had tried to pass on to him. Hassan's reflections. Hassan stood and began pacing the room. "When I entrusted you with the thread, it was not because I needed you to guard a piece of gold. I needed you to understand what it represented. The greatest treasures are not coins or jewels, they are the values we live by. I have traveled to lands where people have little but their word, and they are wealthier than kings who cannot be trusted." Nadir lowered his head in shame. "I failed to see its worth. I was blinded by my immediate needs and the pressures I faced." Hassan placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. "We all face tests in life, Nadir. Some we pass, others we fail. What matters is what we learn from them. You have stumbled, but the journey is not over. Now you know the value of trust and loyalty, not just as words but as principles to live by. A path forward. Hassan began to take stock of the household and their affairs. Though much had been lost, he believed that with effort and integrity, they could rebuild. He involved Nadir in every step, teaching him the ways of trade and negotiation, but always emphasizing the importance of trust. Every deal we make, every relationship we forge, must be rooted in honesty and fairness, Hassan said one evening as they reviewed the ledgers. People will remember not just what we sell, but how we treat them. That is the true foundation of lasting wealth. In the weeks that followed, Nadir began to grow into his role. With his brother's guidance, he repaired broken relationships, restored the household's reputation, and slowly rebuilt their fortune. But more importantly, he rebuilt himself, learning to value the intangible treasures that his brother had always cherished. A lasting legacy. The golden thread, though lost, had fulfilled its purpose. It had taught Nadir a lesson that no amount of wealth could have bought. And as Hassan watched his younger brother step into his own, he knew that the legacy he had hoped to pass on was finally taking root. In the quiet moments of reflection, Hassan would often think of the thread, not with regret but with gratitude. For it had been a test of trust, loyalty, and resilience, and in the end, it had shown both brothers the true measure of wealth. Chapter 4: The Lesson Learned. The evening breeze carried a sense of renewal as Hassan sat with Nadir in the courtyard of their once neglected home. The fragrant blossoms, which had long wilted under neglect, now began to flourish again, mirroring the restoration of their lives. The stars twinkled above them, their light steady and calm, as Hassan shared the final chapter of the lesson he had hoped to teach. It was never about the thread's material worth, Hassan said, his voice gentle yet resolute. Its value lay in what it represented, a bond of trust, a legacy of loyalty, and the foundation of everything I hold dear. Wealth, Nadir, is fleeting. Gold can melt, houses can fall, and goods can vanish. But trust and loyalty? These are eternal treasures. Without them, even the greatest empire will crumble like sand in the wind. The weight of realization. Nadir sat in contemplative silence, the shame of his actions still heavy on his heart. Yet, alongside the shame came a flicker of hope. He had made grave mistakes, yes, but his brother's return and forgiveness offered a second chance, a rare opportunity to rebuild, not just their fortune, but the values that would guide their lives. I failed you, brother, Nadir said, his voice filled with sincerity. I let desperation blind me, and I betrayed the trust you placed in me. But I promise you, I will not waste this second chance. I will rebuild what we lost, not just the wealth, but the integrity of our name. Hassan placed a hand on Nadir's shoulder. Failure is not the end, my brother. It is a teacher, often a harsher one than we desire, but a teacher nonetheless. What matters now is what you do with the lesson it has imparted. Rebuilding with purpose. The following days marked the beginning of a new chapter for the brothers. Hassan, with his seasoned wisdom, took Nadir under his wing, teaching him the nuances of trade, negotiation, and, most importantly, the art of building relationships based on trust. Remember this, Hassan said one morning as they prepared for the bazaar, when people buy from us, they are not just purchasing goods. They are investing in us. They must believe in our honesty and fairness. That is the foundation of all lasting prosperity. The brothers worked tirelessly to restore their reputation in the bustling marketplace. Hassan's return had already sparked interest among traders, and his presence alone was enough to draw old partners back. Yet, it was Nadir's transformation that truly solidified their standing. Where once he might have taken shortcuts or given into impatience, Nadir now operated with an unyielding commitment to fairness and transparency. The test of time. Months turned into years, and the brothers' efforts bore fruit. Their fortune grew steadily, but more importantly, their name became synonymous with trust and integrity. Traders sought them out, not because they offered the cheapest goods, but because they knew a deal with Hassan and Nadir was a promise of quality and honesty. One day, a young merchant approached their stall with a proposition for partnership. As Hassan and Nadir listened, they noticed that the merchant's terms were ambitious, but riddled with risks. "Your offer is tempting," Hassan said, "but it relies heavily on trust. Why should we place our faith in you?" The merchant hesitated, realizing the weight of the question. Nadir stepped in, his voice calm but firm. "Trust is earned, not given freely. Show us your loyalty and commitment, and we will consider your offer. Until then, we deal with those whose trust we have cultivated over time." The merchant, though initially disappointed, later returned with a more thoughtful and transparent proposal, proving his reliability over time. It was a moment that affirmed the brothers' new guiding principle: trust must be built brick by brick, and only those who understood its value could share in their success. Prosperity with a purpose. The brothers' renewed prosperity was not limited to wealth alone. With their newfound stability, they began to give back to the community. They offered fair prices to struggling traders, supported charitable causes, and mentored young merchants, sharing the wisdom they had gained through hardship. Hassan often spoke at gatherings, sharing the story of the golden thread and the lessons it embodied. "True wealth," he would say, "is not measured in gold or jewels. It is measured in the strength of your relationships, the trust you inspire, and the loyalty you uphold. These are treasures that cannot be stolen, devalued, or lost." Nadir, too, became a respected figure in the community. His humility and dedication earned him the admiration of those who once doubted him. He never hesitated to recount his own mistakes, using them as a way to teach others the value of honesty and resilience. A legacy restored. One evening, as the brothers sat together watching the sunset, Hassan turned to Nadir with a satisfied smile. "Do you see now what I meant all those years ago?" he asked. Nadir nodded, his expression a mixture of gratitude and determination. "I see it clearly, brother. The golden thread may be gone, but its lesson will remain with me forever. Trust, loyalty, and integrity, these are the true legacies we leave behind." Hassan placed a hand on Nadir's shoulder. "Then I can rest easy, knowing that our name and our values are in good hands." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the brothers sat in silence, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced trials, learned from their mistakes, and emerged not just wealthier but wiser. Their story became a cherished tale in the bazaars of Persia, a timeless reminder that the greatest treasures in life are those that cannot be bought or sold. And so, the lesson of the golden thread lived on, woven not into fabric, but into the hearts and minds of all who heard their tale. Moral: trust and loyalty are priceless virtues. In the grand tapestry of life, woven with threads of ambition, relationships, and experiences, there are certain virtues that stand out as the strongest and most enduring: trust and loyalty. These qualities are more than mere words, they are the foundation upon which all meaningful and lasting success is built. The story of Hassan and Nadir teaches us this timeless truth, showing how these virtues transcend material wealth and shape the character of individuals and communities alike. The fragility of material wealth. Material wealth, though often pursued with great fervor, is inherently fleeting. It can be gained and lost with the rise and fall of fortune. A single act of misjudgment, a twist of fate, or the passage of time can strip away even the most abundant riches. Nadir's decision to sell the golden thread, thinking it insignificant, serves as a poignant reminder that material possessions often hold deeper, intangible value. The thread's monetary worth was negligible, but the lesson it carried was invaluable. Material wealth, while useful, is a means to an end rather than an end itself. It can provide comfort, opportunity, and security, but it cannot replace the enduring bonds of trust and loyalty. As Hassan wisely pointed out, without trust, even the grandest fortune will crumble. Wealth built on deception or selfishness is like a house of cards, beautiful but fragile, waiting for the slightest gust to topple it. The true value of trust. Trust is not easily won, nor should it be. It is earned through consistency, honesty, and a commitment to doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Hassan's life exemplified this principle. His success as a merchant was not rooted solely in his ability to trade goods, but in his reputation as a man of his word. His customers, partners, and community trusted him because he consistently demonstrated fairness and reliability. In contrast, Nadir's decision to sell the golden thread, albeit in desperation, highlighted the fragility of trust when it is not safeguarded. This act, though small in appearance, was a betrayal of the responsibility entrusted to him by his brother. It serves as a reminder that trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. A single moment of carelessness can undo years of effort, leaving behind a legacy of regret. Loyalty, the strength of relationships. If trust is the foundation, then loyalty is the bond that strengthens it. Loyalty is the act of remaining steadfast and true, even in the face of adversity. It requires prioritizing relationships over self-interest and understanding that success is often a shared journey rather than a solitary achievement. Hassan's loyalty to his values and his brother was unwavering. Even when he discovered that Nadir had sold the golden thread, he did not respond with anger or vengeance. Instead, he chose to teach Nadir a lesson that would resonate for a lifetime. This act of forgiveness and guidance demonstrated that loyalty is not just about standing by someone in good times, but also helping them grow and learn from their mistakes. Integrity as the cornerstone of success. Integrity is the alignment of one's actions with one's principles. It is the invisible force that earns respect, builds trust, and fosters loyalty. Hassan's success as a merchant was not solely due to his business acumen, but also his unwavering commitment to integrity. His customers and partners knew that his word was as good as gold, and this reputation became the true wealth that sustained him. In our modern world, where shortcuts and deception can sometimes seem tempting, the story of Hassan and Nadir serves as a powerful reminder that integrity is non-negotiable. A momentary gain achieved through dishonesty can lead to long-term losses, not only in material terms but also in one's reputation and self-respect. The bonds we honor. Ultimately, the story underscores that life's greatest treasures are not measured in gold or silver, but in the relationships we nurture and the bonds we honor. Trust and loyalty are the glue that hold families, friendships, and communities together. They are the unseen threads that create a fabric strong enough to withstand the challenges of life. Nadir's transformation from a man blinded by desperation to one guided by trust and loyalty demonstrates that it is never too late to change. His journey teaches us that while mistakes may be inevitable, learning from them and choosing to rebuild on a foundation of integrity is what truly matters. A lesson for all. The moral of the story of Hassan and Nadir resonates across cultures, generations, and contexts. Whether in personal relationships, business dealings, or community interactions, trust and loyalty remain the bedrock of all meaningful connections. They remind us to prioritize long-term values over short-term gains and to view success not just as an accumulation of wealth, but as a legacy of character and virtue. In the end, the lesson is clear. Trust and loyalty are priceless virtues. They cannot be bought or sold, and their worth far exceeds that of any material possession. Integrity is the cornerstone of enduring success. A life lived with honesty and principle is one that leaves a positive and lasting impact. Relationships are the true treasures of life. Nurture them, honor them, and recognize that their value transcends all else. May we all strive to embody these virtues, weaving them into the fabric of our own lives, just as Hassan's golden thread carried its message across time. By doing so, we not only enrich our own lives, but also contribute to a world built on trust, loyalty, and mutual respect, a world that truly thrives.